Welcome everyone. We are waiting for others to join. So we will take another 2 minutes and then we'll start up the session. We'll start in one more after a minute. I think people are joining right now, so we'll wait for one more minute and then we'll start at exactly at 9:32. Okay, so we'll start. Hello and welcome everyone to this interactive webinar session. My name is John. During this session, we will walk you through the importance of how labor market insights and talent intelligence is useful for decision makers to prepare for tomorrow's workforce. So that is evaluate the external labor market and competitor landscape, leverage talent intelligence to shape your workforce planning strategy and employee value propositions. Also, we will walk you through how to analyze the labor market trends and competitive behavior. So please join me to welcome Vivek Bhaskaran. He is currently working as VP of Products and has ample experience in building enterprise solutions, software, and web applications. He has an excellent track record in successfully leading teams for developing enterprise solutions for clients. He will be taking through the session forward. So before we start, I would like to tell that you can use the chat or Q&A window for putting your queries or doubts. As I said, it's an interactive session, so we would be happy to answer all the queries and doubts during the Q&A session at the end. So now I would like to turn this over to Vivek. Vivek?
Thanks, John. Here is a brief agenda for today. We'll keep it short and simple, and we'll be predominantly looking at what TI is and how TI is used across multiple organizations that we work with, and some of the learnings from there, and finally see how job speaker fit into the TI equation and go through a quick case study on how job speaker helped. So we'll go forward. All right, a quick brief about who we are. So we are part of a company called DrumCloud, which started around 2009. So DrumCloud is a data as a service company. So we work with enterprises to collect large sets of data from the web. So we help in the data acquisition part of the entire data pipelines. So it was around 2015 that we started Job Speaker, and that was started as a data as a service model again, where we were supplying data, the labor market data to a lot of our customers. Around 2017, we built a standalone product called Job Speaker, which enabled our clients in the space to download data, query for data based on various parameters, and use it for building their own applications and intelligence. 2019, we added some AI and machine learning capabilities to extract more information from the job listings, like salary, years of experience, which department, etc., etc. And early 2022, we launched the Job Speaker Insights, which is taking us in the next step. So that's the next step in the journey, where we are trying to build an end-to-end talent intelligence application in itself. So we have been, as part of JobSpeaker, we have been working with some of the big names in the talent intelligence space, like EMSI, Seek Out, Compensation Tool, etc. And that also, there's a lot of learnings from there that we are carrying forward. So though JobSpeaker Insights is new, the data that we have been working with has already been proven and tested across multiple use cases and customers of all sizes and shapes. So we'll move on to what talent intelligence is. So there is a lot of confusion and lack of clarity on what talent intelligence actually is. I think this is the definition that I personally like the most: the application of data relating to people, skills, jobs, functions, competitor geographies to drive business decisions. There, I think the keyword would be business decisions. So this is, if you're aware of, this is put forth by Toby Culshaw, who is kind of authority figure in the talent intelligence space. And we kind of like this definition to go forward. So talent intelligence is typically externally focused. What it entails is a huge gamut of research into making better decisions, especially when it concerns to people and management of workforce within companies. It's usually a macro level and strategic project in most cases, with a lens on workforce planning and skills for the future. So it's future looking in most of the cases, and strategic in nature in almost all cases that we have come across. Why TI? This is an interesting study from Gartner, very recent one. And when you look at the top 10 strategic objectives, the importance of HR in general, be it workforce, be it on stability, etc., have gone up multifold. It's gone up from 5th to in 2020, just before COVID, to the 3rd position. And that is a huge change in the way organizations are looking at talent, as well as there is without, it goes without saying, the kind of aggressive labor market we all are in. We had the great resignation, then there is a great regret. All of that combined together, it's a very different labor market from what it used to be. And understanding more on what are the factors driving the changes, what are the changes happening in the market, what are the major pivots within your industry, within your competitors, etc., gives you that added advantage to and added voice to your decisions, and make it more have more conviction in your own decision-making process. So what value does TI bring? So if you want to look at it in terms of just values, or what are the activities that a TI team does, it's usually one of the three, or combination of all these three: risk mitigation, feasibility studies, and gaining a competitive advantage. So how it is done, or what are the different areas where TI comes into picture is location is a big part. When I talk about location strategy, it largely refers to where your workforce is, what your organization footprint is. Are the right talent in the right locations? Are the cost of acquisition for a talent in line with your business strategy? If there is a merger or an acquisition, how does that dynamic change? Where should you be positioned with respect to, especially with respect to attracting talent? Of course, there are other decisions and other entities that would have their own research, like cost of real estate, and whether you have a constant supply of talent, etc. But location strategy is a big piece that most of our customers use our data for. Workforce demand management in terms of understanding skills, understanding what are the emerging skills, what are the skills which are on decline, not just within your organization, but within your industry, adjacent industries, as well as your key competitors. So all of these gives you an advantage on how to go about talent acquisition as a strategic function. Competitive intelligence is a mix of all these things, as well as understanding uh, things like your salary benchmarking against competition, perks and benefits against competition, etc. That also rolls up into market intelligence. And again, market intelligence could be an umbrella term which would definitely have other areas, not just workforce. And one of the key areas where this would impact in a large fashion is the organization structure, especially in cases where there are, say, change in business strategy, or of late, we definitely see a lot of organization moving into more tech-driven organization, very traditional manufacturing companies trying to be more tech-driven, and technology is a core part of a lot of organization these days. And how does that impact the organization? It may be a skill set which was never in place for a traditional organization, even though they might be big and mighty and traditionally been a large employer brand in itself. But they may not have the right structure in place and right skill sets at the right places to deliver on those strategies. So understanding organization structure, influencing organization structure, as well as understanding how other organizations are molding themselves up, are areas where talent intelligence comes into play. Also, a small part in the buy and build decisions, that again, largely in terms of workforce planning. Do you have to build a new product or capability, or try to buy that as a service, or try to acquire a different company for their talent or capabilities that they bring into the table? So all of those decision making also, part of it comes to the talent intelligence group. So customers of talent intelligence usually, it's again a very varied list of people and internal customers that the TI serve. Primarily, it would be one of the two, strategy or talent acquisition. Again, within strategy, there could be mergers and acquisition, real estate or projects team who are looking at location strategy as a specific piece, and org design, as we just spoke about. And here, the challenge for TI is a lot of these teams usually have not worked with an analytical person from the HR side. So in order to get a foothold and gain that trust within those teams might be is definitely a big challenge for most of the organizations, especially when it comes to say mergers and acquisition. So we have definitely come a long way from companies, say, hiring a different organization and then acquiring a different organization and then thinking of how to integrate the workforce, what are the challenges, etc., to at least being in the discussions for all the mergers and acquisition and the due diligence part of it. Now the challenge would be to go one step ahead of that flow and be part of the actual origin of the discussions on mergers and acquisition, and see how different workforces, different locations, what are the capabilities they bring into the table? Are they skills that you could have otherwise built internally? All those decisions could be hugely impacted by the research from the talent intelligence community or the team within your organizations. Talent acquisition is a no-brainer in terms of getting a sense of what what kind of market you are playing in. Where does your strengths lie versus your competitors? How can your talent acquisition TA folks go about hiring better and faster? And even understanding the difficulty of hiring for different roles and within your industry as well as regions. It might as well be the case that you might want to look at a different location to build a particular skill set or team, just based on the fact that it's probably cheaper to hire in a different location because there is a lot of talent availability in those markets, and the cost of acquiring could be low. And it could be the other way around as well. You may not want to be in a highly competitive area where, say, your say if you're a retail company and wants to hire for tech talent. In most cases, say the Silicon Valley may not be a right choice for it, even though there is a huge supply of talent and you have the right kind of skill set. The cost of acquisition and even retaining those talents might be different. So it all depends on the context in which you are operating. But having that data point to substantiate and corroborate your decision making goes a long way in saving costs down the line. And there was a recent report by BCG which said about 8 billion is spent on mishiring or the change or because of hiring wrong people in the wrong positions. HR and HR analytics is again something which seems like a no-brainer, but we haven't come across a lot of organizations that have or are doing a good job with this, especially in terms of marrying both internal analytics data and external TI data. TI is usually externally focused. Even though the data is already there from, say, ATSs, your internal surveys, all of that definitely are readily available. We haven't seen a lot of people use talent intelligence teams to marry that data and see how we can impact internally. But given that, we are very sure that that's an area where organizations would move towards sooner or later, sooner than later. And we do see that as bringing in a lot of value and direct ROI for the TI teams. And calculating ROI is probably another area where TI doesn't do a really good job, at least as of now. But that again are part of being a nascent team and structure in place. And most organizations are still in that very early stage. And TI itself as a function is very early in its stages. Probably it started around 15, 20 years where it was largely economic researchers that those were involved. From that point, we have evolved to a stage where the data and insights are very much available and free. In a lot of cases, it's freely available as well. And you don't necessarily need a data scientist or an economist to make sense out of it. So it's available in very digestible forms, not just with our product, but in general, there are multiple other products which does similar insights, which provide similar insights. So what kind of data is used? Largely classified into, we can classify into three. Your demand data, that is what kind of jobs, what kind of skills are being hired for across industries, companies, and regions. That is the area where we are the strongest. We definitely, because of our history in data aggregation, that is a natural extension of what we were doing, and demand data is definitely one big piece in that puzzle. And probably 60% of all the insights come from the demand side of the data. Second is the supply side, which basically means the talent available for different roles and skills in different areas. So supply side data again is not something which we personally as job speaker do, but there are even LinkedIn could be a very good source for most of the roles across geographies. Third would be the total cost. Here again, the demand data could give you some sense of cost of hiring in terms of salary and if that opportunity cost of not hiring, etc. So we are talking about total cost. So the real estate cost, your cost of maintenance, your cost of hiring, all of that put together totals amounts to your total cost. So there again, as a labor market intelligence platform, we are not so high on that front. Definitely, we would have salary insights, which is a huge part of the cost. Okay, so TI team structures, because this is a very new function. It is still evolving. We have seen a lot of permutations and combinations on how TI as a function operates across multiple organizations. But goes without saying that all TI teams should have a good relation with your workforce planning, head of staff, head of almost all the business units, strategy, finance, etc. So that's where that's also a reflection of how information passes to the TI team, because it's not yet a very well established center in most organizations. These requirements usually would be routed through either strategy or your finance team or your workforce planning or your different lines of businesses. What we have generally seen is that a centralized team work better because they would have better context on the business, and there is lesser duplication of resources across geographies or markets. And we have also seen the community of practice being followed by a lot of companies. Community of practice is basically different leaders of different organizations within your company coming together and creating a ad hoc team, or not an ad hoc team might be a wrong word to use, but as a collective community that handles the TI function. Usually it would be driven by the chief of staff or someone from the HR side. But that's a model which seems to be gaining a lot of popularity. Probably because it's a very new function and there is still a lot of trials and errors that are going on. But either ways, centralization is name of the game, is what we think. From our DrumCloud side of learnings, working with other organizations, not just on the data for the labor market insights, we have generally found that if your intelligence team or the team that works on the research part of things, if it is centralized in nature, there is a lot of value in it rather than being decentralized. We have also come across quite large organizations that still operate in the decentralized mode, and we are not sure why that still continues to be the case. But that could be an area where the importance of TI as a function could be diminished because it's not so visible across the organization, and that influence across organization might be missing. Typical skills, someone from HR definitely would be required to provide context for all the decision making. Strong research focus in terms of data analysts and data scientists could be a slightly technical role, but still adds a lot of value in terms of building custom intelligence, custom reporting, etc. Data scientists could be a very invaluable part of the TI team. Research again it is in a lot of cases, data is either available freely or through some of the platforms like JobSpeaker or Talent Neuron, Horsefly, etc. But understanding what data, where to look for what data and how to use it is probably the key here when it comes to the research skills and a lot of business know-how. And in a lot of cases, you would probably see that all the work you've done has been not utilized, and there has been some other decision that has already been made. And that is also a shift that we see in a few years back. It was usually for validating and, as I spoke earlier, the risk mitigation part, that we have already taken a decision to say, start an manufacturing plant in this location. So can you validate whether we have made a mistake, or it's not just even making a mistake, can you substantiate it? Is that a good decision? And you're basically trying to mitigate risk and understand what are the pitfalls. From there, I think we have moved to a place where uh, talent intelligence is actually looked as a credible source of data to make that decision. So being proactive in those decision-making processes is what it entails. Other area where a lot of people have raised concerns is building TI as a function rather than an activity. Again, if it is an activity, it probably would go into that decentralized mode where if you have any requirement, you have so and so person who can help you out, etc. But building that team and voice within the company is very essential in order to help the business make right decisions and move in the right directions. How JobSpeaker could help? I think we have touched upon it in multiple areas already. So I'll just skim through this. First and foremost, understanding labor market, especially the demand side of the labor market. Hiring difficulties, how much time does it generally take to close a open role? What are the active jobs that are being posted by your competitors? What are the skills that are being hired for, etc. For comparison and benchmarking, salary, skills, levels of experience, all those granularities of data and, is there for you to slice and dice and see what and exactly answer the kind of specific questions you might be trying to solve. Benchmarking against competitors, geolocation and industry averages, again, gives you a good sense of where you are placed as an employer brand with respect to the market. Some basic visualization. This is very high level overview of what it is, and there are definitely more to it. Case study, I was thinking of multiple cases, but thought of eating our own dog food here. So we recently did employee salary benchmarking exercise. We definitely had data from all the traditional sources. That's your Monsters and Indeeds of the world. And there are also tools like PayScale and Glassdoor, who already publishes this crowdsourced data. So what we have found, and this again specifically to how JobSpeaker or recency of data and in the context of making the right decision. So when we looked at JobSpeaker data, we generally found that the salaries were on the higher side with respect to whatever other data sources which we had. See, it was around 10 to 15% higher for almost all the roles. I believe barring one or two roles, everything else was at a higher percentage than all other data sources. And that's also, when we dug deeper, it's also a reflection of the recency of the data and the context in which this has happened. So if you look at the last 6 to 8 months or even 1 year, there has been a lot of companies that has increased their spend on people. retention is a big thing. People were quitting, and all those labor market influences definitely had an impact on the salary as well. And that could be a much better indicator of what the market is. Eventually, it might uh, average out over time. But if you look at the current state of affairs, it definitely gives you a better insight on what the market looks like in 2022, rather than seeing across 2020 to 2022, this was your averages. So it's a very simple to understand, and our own example. There are other use cases that we can go into, but we thought this makes the most sense for us, at least, because we've just gone through this exercise. And if we were to extrapolate what could have happened if we did not do that exercise, and I think that calculation is still pending, but we pretty much know in which direction it would be headed. So I think that's about it in terms of a high-level overview of what talent intelligence is and how it impacts. In the coming months, we might want to go a little more detail into various use cases, and we would have different webinars on it. But right now, I think we'll open the session for questions.
Thanks, Vivek. So now if anyone has any doubts, as I said earlier, please feel free to use the chat or Q&A window, and we can answer those. Also, we'll be sharing these recordings and these presentations by tomorrow via email for your reference.
Are we good to wrap up then?
Yeah, Vivek, I suppose no one is having any queries. Anyhow, we'll be sharing this recordings as well as the presentations tomorrow.
Cool. All right. Thanks a lot for your time. Sorry, was someone speaking?
No, yeah.
All right. So thanks a lot for sparing your time and attending the webinar. We'll definitely, as John said, we will share the recording of the session, as well as in future plan for more in-depth webinars on different aspects of talent intelligence. It would be great if you could share areas where you are working on, and kind of challenges you are facing, so that we can have deeper discussions on those and try to bring in our understanding and learnings from across other players in the industry and other employers, so to speak, and see how we can add value to each other. So please feel free to share your thoughts and opinions. Right. Thanks a lot, and have a good day.